O.J. Simpson's attempt to expose Kris Jenner's affairs, and she's mad. It's a new year, and nothing has changed in the Kardashian-Jenner clan. They're still making headlines, and it looks like this year will still be filled with news about them. First up is the matriarch of the family, Kris Jenner. It's been reported recently that Kris Jenner was unhappy that O.J. Simpson mentioned her in a recent interview. Simpson recently went for an interview in which he addressed rumors that he is Khloe Kardashian's biological father. He also made surprising revelations about Kris's past affairs, and they were as colorful as their daughters. What were Kris's reactions to O.J.'s comments and stories about her life? Was it right for O.J. to share intimate details about Kris? O.J. Simpson was a close friend of Robert Kardashian, Kris's ex-husband and the father of Kourtney, Kim, Khloe, and Rob. He was interviewed for the first time after his release from prison last year. During his interview, he finally clarified everything about himself, including his relationship with Kris and her daughters. To give you an idea of how O.J. became close to the Kardashian family, let's take a quick trip down memory lane. O.J. Simpson and Robert Kardashian became friends after meeting on a tennis court in the 1970s. Nicole Brown and O.J. started dating in 1977, and the two couples became close friends with Robert and his wife Kris. Nicole and O.J. were married in 1985, and it was not a secret that O.J. mistreated Nicole. It was unclear if Kris tried to help Nicole leave the relationship. However, Kris and Nicole were close during the early years of Nicole and O.J.'s marriage. Kris even used the name Nicole as Kendall Jenner's second name. Kendall was born a year after Nicole was killed. In February 1992, Nicole filed for divorce from O.J., alleging that he had been abusive toward her. She also claimed that O.J. had stalked her after their divorce and that she was afraid for her life due to his threatening behavior. One fateful night in June 1994, the bodies of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman were found outside Nicole's house in Los Angeles. O.J. had left on a flight to Chicago that same night, but was ordered to return the following day because authorities found a pair of blood-stained gloves. The left glove was discovered at the crime scene, while the other pair was discovered in O.J.'s home. O.J. agreed to provide DNA samples and began assembling a team of lawyers, including Robert Kardashian, to defend himself against the murder charges. O.J. was staying with Robert and his family and was supposed to be arrested there. However, he fled their home and attempted to escape. This led to the infamous Bronco chase. He rode in the back of a white Ford Bronco, which was owned by his former teammate Al Cowlings. During the chase, it was reported that Simpson was in the back seat of the vehicle, holding a gun to his head. The police pursuit, which was televised live and followed by news helicopters, lasted for about an hour as the Bronco traveled at a slow speed on the I-405 freeway. Eventually, the Bronco arrived at Simpson's house in Brentwood, and he was arrested and charged with a double murder after stepping out of the car around 9 p.m. O.J. pleaded not guilty, and his trial became one of the most publicized criminal trials in the country. Even with all the evidence, including blood and DNA samples, Robert Kardashian and his team argue that the evidence was planted by the police for them to have a suspect, including the glove found in O.J.'s house. During the crucial moment in the trial, O.J. was ordered to try on the glove, but he had a hard time wearing it. It just didn't fit. However, people believe that O.J. was acting and pretending to struggle with putting it on in front of the jury. After 8 months, O.J. was acquitted on both counts of murder. It took only 4 hours of deliberation before the jury found him not guilty. It was considered one of the most controversial decisions ever made. Fred Goldman, the father of Ron Goldman, revealed later that Robert hid a very important piece of evidence that could send O.J. to prison. He also accused the Kardashian-Jenner family of using that unfortunate event in Nicole and Ron's lives for fame and fortune. We all knew that the Kardashian name became well known because of O.J.'s trial. A lot of people were impressed with Robert and his legal team because everyone was betting against them, but they won, and O.J. was spared prison time. Kris was criticized by Nicole's family and supporters for using her friend's tragedy to promote her memoir. Kris talked extensively about Nicole in her book. Nicole's sister asked Kris to stop profiting from her sister's horrible death. There was also a rumor about Kris's affair with O.J. Many believe that the two had an intimate relationship behind Robert's back at one point. Kris cheated on her husband with O.J. Perhaps this was the reason that Kris didn't say anything against O.J., even if she believed that he was not innocent of the crime. Caitlyn Jenner, Kris's ex-husband, claimed that they both knew he was guilty. What was surprising about this case was that Robert also had doubts about his former friend's innocence. He made this claim when he was interviewed by Barbara Walters. When the trial ended, Robert also ended his friendship with O.J. He said in an interview,
"You yourself doubt O.J. Simpson's innocence?
I have doubts.
Why?
The blood evidence is the biggest thorn in my side. That causes me the greatest problems. So I struggle with the blood evidence.
What is your relationship today with O.J. Simpson?
The relationship is not the same as it once was, nor will it ever be.
Why not?
Because I have doubts.
Robert shared on Times once about his experience in the trial. People began to hate him because O.J. was not convicted. He wrote, "O.J. Simpson never lied to me. He has told me that he did not commit these horrible crimes, and I have no reason not to believe him. It was from that perspective that I came to stand by his side during his trial. For me, the question was, what would you do for a friend? Would you give up your business, put your personal life on hold, and devote a year and a half of your life to a friend? I did, without realizing what an awful journey I was about to take. Who wants their life and everything they've done for the past 25 years dragged in front of the American public? Within a week, the assault began. I was totally unprepared for the avalanche of reporters, cameras, and gawking members of the public that besieged my home and invaded my life. Overnight, I was the subject of hate letters and phone calls at all hours of the day and night. I was threatened. My children were threatened. But everyone assumed that the main reason Robert cut ties with O.J. was that he learned of his affair with his wife. This was pure speculation, and nothing was confirmed about Kris and O.J.'s relationship. Robert died of esophageal cancer in 2003, but this rumor was still circulating all over the internet. O.J. Simpson was found guilty of conspiracy to kidnap and armed robbery in Las Vegas and sentenced to 33 years in prison with the possibility of parole in 9 years. While Simpson was in prison, rumors circulated that he was the biological father of Khloe Kardashian. Khloe was born in 1984, which is only a few years after Kris and O.J. were formally introduced. From then on, people could not stop talking about who Khloe's father was because she did not look like Robert or any of his siblings. There were fans who noticed that Khloe bore a striking resemblance to Kris's former hairdresser, Alex Roldan. This time, many agreed because they looked alike, and Khloe's second name was Alexandra. This could be a clue to her biological father. However, rumors about O.J. as his father would never die down. O.J.'s former manager, Norman Pardo, claimed in a documentary that O.J. had shared with him that something had happened between him and Kris in the jacuzzi. Cheating scandals are not new anymore, especially when it comes to Kris Jenner. She admitted once that she cheated on Robert with a football player named Todd Waterman. Khloe has been trying to keep her cool about the rumor about her real father. She refused to take a DNA test because she found it disrespectful and rude. She didn't care what other people thought, and she didn't have to prove anything. All she knew was that Robert was her father, and that was all that mattered. Now, the debate about O.J. being Khloe's father will finally come to an end because O.J. himself has spoken about it. On December 14, 2021, O.J. was released from prison after being granted parole for good behavior. After a year, he agreed to be interviewed. He was invited on the Full Send podcast, and he talked about his relationship with Robert and Kris. He completely denied that he had an affair with Kris. He even made the comment that back then, he only dated supermodels, which Kris was absolutely not.
She looked back then.
Let's see, I don't, people have their types, right? I always thought Kris was a cute girl. She was really nice. But, I was dating. Supermodels.
You know the rumor.
Yeah, but the rumor ain't true. It's not even nowhere close to being true. No, it's just that I've never been attracted to her, and I never suspected she was ever attracted to me. So, that was never a case.
Because some people think like you might be Khloe Kardashian's real dad.
No, I'm not.
He finally cleared the air by admitting that he was not Khloe's biological father. However, he said things that stirred the internet once again. He stated that he didn't believe Robert was Khloe's father and that her father could have been a former cook for Kris. Now, this is something that fans should start investigating. According to some sources, Kris was not pleased with the said interview. Of course, anyone would be mad if certain people talked about them in public. Fans were urging Kris to say something about this interview and not let O.J. get away with disrespecting her. There were people who criticized Kris for trying so hard to convince everyone that Khloe was Robert's daughter. However, many fans could care less about Kris because all they wanted to know was who Khloe's father was, now that O.J. was not an option anymore. Some were trying to figure out who the cook was, while others insisted Alex Roldan was Khloe's father. Pictures of them placed side by side were circulating around the internet. What do you think of OJ's interview? Do you find it okay that he said those things about Kris? Who do you think is Khloe's father? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Stay tuned for more videos. Are you not entertained? If you are, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.